Okay, here's the Unit 3 review for pre-AP. So on the first one, you're just kind of looking at the attributes of it. So for instance, the vertex. This is your vertex. It's located at 3, 2. So 3, 2. It's going to have a max because it's facing downward. I'm going to skip the equation for now, and then I'll go back to it. The equation here, or for the axis of symmetry, that's your x equals 3. And remember, that's always the first part of your vertex. There it is, x equals 3. And, of course, I wrote it on the wrong place. Okay, for your domain all day long, y'all, negative infinity to infinity. And remember, you never put a bracket on infinity. If you were to write it in interval, it would look like this. And you do not put the things underneath it. It's not less than or equal to it. All right, your range is going to be low to high. The lowest it goes is negative infinity. And it'll go all the way up to 2. Okay, so if I write my equation, I'm writing it in that vertex form. So y equals a, x minus h squared plus k. Remember the h in your k is your vertex. They're telling me it opens downward. So I have y equals negative. Inside I'm going to have x minus 3 squared and then plus 2. Alright, for this part here it says, for the function f of x equals negative 3 times x plus 10 squared minus 11, what is the max min value? Well, I know it's going to have a max because this is a negative. And the lowest it'll go, or the highest it'll go, is going to be negative 11. So that's the max value. Remember again, your axis symmetry is that h here, it's that first part of the vertex. So here I see a 10, so it's really a negative 10. So x equals negative 10. It's going to open down, again, because of that negative right there. And then how do I know? I know because the a value is negative. All right, on the next one, it says, what is the vertex and the axis symmetry of the graph? So I'm going to do this by hand. So you're going to use that x equals negative b divided by 2a. This is my b value. The 1 here is my a value. So I have negative 10 divided by 2 times 1. That gives me negative 10 over 2, which is negative 5. So my axis of symmetry is x equals negative 5. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use that axis of symmetry to find the rest of the vertex. Because right now, what I know is, I know that part of my vertex is this. Now I need to find the other part. So I'm going to substitute this in. So I have negative 5 squared plus 10 times negative 5 minus 12. That gives me 25 minus 50 minus 12. That gives me 25 minus 62, which then gives me negative 37. So that's my vertex. So again, this is my axis symmetry. This is a minimum because this is positive, and that's my minimum value. Alright, so using completing the square to convert into vertex form, and then they want to know what is the max min value. So since I'm looking for, since I know this is positive, I'm really looking for a min value. And what I'm looking for is I'm looking for that k, because remember that vertex is the h and the k, and I'm looking for the k. That'll be my minimum. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put these first two terms in parentheses. So I'm going to have x squared minus 6x blank plus 3 blank. Alright, so to make those blanks, I'm going to do b divided by 2 squared. The b value is negative 6, so I'm going to have negative 6 divided by 2 squared. That gives me negative 3 squared, which equals 9. So plus 9 minus 9. Alright, now, I need to try to figure out what two numbers will multiply to get positive 9, but combine to get negative 6, and that's going to be negative 3. So x minus 3 squared, and then minus 6. And really, y'all, whatever number you get in here, see how that says negative 3? You would put in negative 3. And again, you don't want that to be a positive, because if I do x plus 3 times x plus 3, I won't get a negative 6, I'll get a positive 6. Alright, so this is my vertex form. And then the negative 6 here, that would be my minimum value. Again, that's my h, that's my k. I was looking for the k. Alright, on the next one, it says a cannonball is launched upward at 64 feet per second from a platform 80 feet high. According to the equation, negative 16t squared plus 64t plus 80, what will be the cannonball's maximum height? Okay, so on this one here, again, I need to find out what the axis of symmetry is, and then once I substitute that in, that'll tell me what the maximum height is. So I have negative 16x squared plus 64x plus 80. This is my A and this is my B. So I'm going to do x equals negative B divided by 2A. If I substitute everything in, it's going to be negative 64 over 2 times negative 16. Two negatives when divided will give me a positive, so I have 64 over 32, which is 2. Alright, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start substituting everything in. So I have negative 16 times 2 squared plus 64 times 2 plus 80. Now, do not multiply these two first. You have to do your parentheses and exponents first. So negative 16 times 4 plus, that'll give me 128 plus 80. Negative 16 times 4 gives me negative 64 plus 100. If I add those up, I get, what is that, 208. So 128 plus 80 give me 208. And then if I do 208 minus 64, that gives me 144. So the max height would be 144 feet, and they reach that maximum height at 2 seconds. All right, the next one, it says write the vertex form of the parabola, whose vertex is 2, negative 2. Now they're giving me a vertex, so that's giving me the h and the k, and goes through the point xy, or 4, 6, and opens upward. So if it opens upward, they're telling me once I solve for my a, it should be a positive value. Okay, so I'm going to start substituting everything into that vertex form formula. My y is going to be 6 equals a. My x will be 4 minus the h, which is 2. And then the k is negative 2, so minus 2. So now I have 6 equals 4 minus 2 is 2, 2 squared. Okay, minus 2. If I keep going, 2 squared is 4, so 4a minus 2. Looks better when you put it in front. Have that coefficient. I'm going to add 2, That gives me 8 equals 4a. Divide by 4, divide by 4, a equals 2. Alright, so now I have enough information. I just found out what my a is. They gave me the h and the k. So I'm just going to take that information and I'll start substituting it in. So y equals 2. X minus the 2 here, squared, and then minus 2. And that's my vertex form. Alright, on the next one I'm creating an equation for each of the following that would have these characteristics. Now some of the numbers I'm just going to make up on my own, but I have to make sure I have this information. So it tells me it's a maximum, so I know my a value has to be negative. This axis of symmetry, if you'll remember, is the h part of my vertex. So when they're giving me that axis of symmetry, they're giving me that h. So I have y equals, it says a maximum, so negative. I'll just leave it as a negative this time. This is a negative 2 for my h, so x plus 2 squared, and then I'll just make up a number here, minus 5. Alright, the next one is the minimum. When x is 3, y is 5. The minimum tells me the a is going to be positive. And this is actually my vertex. My vertex is 3, 5. My h and my k. Okay, so for this one, I'm going to write, I think I'll do it over here where I have a little bit more room. I have y equals, I'll put a 5 this time, because all I need is a positive number. This is 3, so x minus 3 squared, and then plus 5. Alright, the next one they're telling me the vertex is at 3, negative 4. So again, this is my h and my k. It opens downward, so I know it's a negative a value. So I have y equals, I'll do a negative 3/4. Okay, I just need to have a negative number. My h, so x minus 3 squared, and then minus 4. All right, let's flip it over. Okay, you're going to need your calculator on this part, and really for pretty much 8 through 10, you need to have a calculator. So what I'm going to do here is on the first one, it says a wolf made a leap and the following data points were collected with the x values representing time and the y values representing distance in feet. Write a quadratic equation to model the path of the wolf's jump. Round to the nearest hundredths when necessary. How high do you estimate the wolf was after a half second from the beginning of the jump, or at half a second from the beginning of the jump? Get rid of one of those words. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a table of the values, and I like to do that just to keep everything organized. So I started off at 0, 0, or the wolf did, and then at 0.4 seconds it was 6 feet above the ground, and then at 0.7 seconds it was on its way to landing, so 0.2. Okay, so I'm going to do a quad reg. All right, so I've got 0, 0.4, 0.7. I have 0, 6, and 0.2. So I'm going to do a stat calc quad reg, and that's what I have. So my equation is y equals, again, I'm rounding to the hundredths, so that needs to be negative 49.05x squared plus 34.62x, and then the plus 0. Remember, that's your y-intercept. And that makes sense since it started there. Okay, and then it says, how high do you estimate the wolf was? So what I'm just going to do here at the half second is I'm just going to substitute this in and let the calculator do the calculating. So negative 49.05 times a half squared, okay, plus 34.62, and again times that half, so 0.5, and then I don't really need to put the plus 0, and that's what you get. So at 0.5 seconds, the dog was 5.0475 feet above the ground at half a second. All right, on the next one it says use the following data to find a quadratic regression model for the data. Round to the nearest hundredths when necessary. What does the model predict for the y-intercept? Now, y'all, don't overthink this. The y-intercept is just the c value. That's it. So whatever you get for that c value, that's your y-intercept. Okay, so I'm going to do a quad reg again. And it's just 1 through 7. Okay, so 1 through 7. All right, and I'm going to come back up here, and I've got 20.4, I've got 60.5, I've got 86.8, 122.4, 180.4, and 241.2, 420.8. Okay, so I'm going to do stat calc quad reg. All right, I'm going to round to the hundredths. So for my equation, I'm going to have y equals 10.89x squared minus 27.97x, and then plus 55.87. So that's my y-intercept, A, B, C. So my y-intercept is 55.87. Okay, on the next one you have to have the calculator again. So on this one here, I need to have a third point. Okay, I need to have a third point to do my quad reg. Now, they give me enough information to do that. So I'm going to pretend like this is my axis symmetry, x equals 4. I have one point here at 5, 7. Okay, now 5 is only 1 away from 4, so I'll go 1 over on this side, and right in front of 4 is 3, so 3, 7. Okay, so if I run my quad reg, okay, I'll have 2, 5, 3. Okay, and then 1, 7, 7. And that's what I have. So in standard form, the equation is negative 2 x squared, I should probably put y equals negative 2x squared plus 16x minus 23. Now, if I write it in the vertex form, I need that A, H, and K. The only thing I have right now is the A, so I can only fill out this part. And so now what I need to do is I need to find out what the vertex is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it in the calculator. And you will have a calculator on this part, so I would really kind of consider just doing the calculator. So I'm going to type in negative 2x squared plus 16x minus 23. And I'm going to go to my table, and there's my vertex, 4, 9. And again, I know it's the vertex because it's surrounded by the 7. So that's my vertex, 4, 9. So that's my H and my K. So it's a positive 4, so minus 4, and then plus 9. Okay, on these you're doing factoring. So on this part here, I'm just factoring. And I'm going to pull out the greatest common factors. So the greatest common factors of 15 and 18 are 3. And the greatest common factor of x squared and x cubed is x squared. Now, I can multiply 3x squared by 5x to get back to 15x cubed. And then I can also add 6 to that to get back to 18x squared. Put a minus. The greatest common factor of 25 and 30 is 5. Okay, so negative 5 times 5x will give me negative 25x. And then negative 5 times positive 6 will give me negative 30. So this will be one set of parentheses. So this is one set of parentheses here. So 3x squared minus 5. And then the other set of parentheses will just be what you have here. So 5x plus 6. And if I were to actually multiply all that out, I would get back to this. Okay, on this one here, they want you to solve for y. So the first thing I need to do is I need to get rid of the divide by 4. So times 4. I'm going to times 4 on this side. So on this side here, I have 4x equals 3z y. Now, if I'm solving for y, that means I want to get rid of the 3z. So I'm going to divide by 3z. Divide by 3z. So what I now have is I have y equals 4x divided by 3z. That's my answer. Okay, on here we're doing substitution, and then you need to simplify it. So they give me all my values. The b is 6, so 6 squared minus 4 times a times c. That gives me 36. I know 2 negatives will make a positive. 4 times 3 is 12, times 2 is 24. That gives me the square root of 60. Okay, now I'm going to start breaking this down. So if I start breaking this down, I've got 10 and 6, 2 and 3, and this would be 2 and 5. I'm going to do groups of 2s. Okay, so that gives me 2, and then 15 would be left on the inside. Because 5 times 3, you have to multiply those, 5 times 3. Okay, I hope that helped you. If you have any questions, let me know. If I made any mistakes, please let me know. And that's really about it. Good luck. Make sure you ask your teacher if you need help before the test.